that's when it all comes into play. And that's when you're just like, this is why I'm here. So I'm up on top of this ridge, and I had just this moment of like clarity. Like the whole project started flashing through my head from like when I bought the bus and I converted it, and I ran into all these problems and all these things that I failed at, and I was like, didn't feel like I could ever accomplish and conquer those things, and was just so down. And then we made it to Alaska, and we found good snow, and I'm up on top of this ridge, and it's just quiet, and I'm strapped in ready to go, and I was just like, wow, I did this. I chose to take my rent money and put it into my gas tank, and this is kind of the story of how I got here, because it wasn't always like this. The road's great because you have all this time to just sit and think, and your mind gets running, and you start coming to realization of a few things. And it's funny because like I don't really have a routine because I'm traveling so much. The only thing that's pretty much standard is coffee in the morning and breakfast. Other than that, like every day is so different and changes at just a hat's drop. There's days in the bus where, you know, you wish you had an actual like big shower that you could just leave the water running the whole time and like turn it up as hot as you wanted and just sit in there for 20-30 minutes. But if I have all those things, then I'm not able to like travel and experience and enjoy life like I do now. Life's simple, like life's good right now. My name is Brock Butterfield, and I overcame ulcerative colitis. I'm a professional snowboarder that now lives in a short 4-wheel drive school bus that I converted into a tiny home. What's up, everyone? I just got back from SIA 2012, and I want to give you a quick rundown on my house that I stayed in while I was out on the travel. So check this out. When I was a kid, I was always fascinated with small spaces. Like I used to sleep in cardboard boxes and like underneath the cabinets and things like that. And I loved like my little zone I had, and it just felt cozy. And it was a lot better than having a big room. And the whole, I think, idea of having a small space stuck with me as I was growing up. And then the tiny house movement came along and just started to explode. And so I'm seeing all these houses online, these tiny homes, and just how cool it is to compact everything into one small space and live simple, and you don't need a lot. And that kind of worked into buying a bus to convert it into a home as well. You see here, we got some power. This runs in through the engine and through the firewall there, and you'll notice that it comes out, boom, here inside the truck. Basically packed it pretty simple. I have this little hot point cooker that I can heat up coffee in the morning. I just have a simple little backcountry coffee drip system. When I was 19, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, and it got to the point where it was so severe that they had to remove my large intestine to stop the bleeding. You can see I have a sleeping platform up there. So I just built it, basically used the structure of the seat with another 2x4 structure that runs around the seat platform. Basically gives me 7 feet because I'm a tall guy, so I can sleep up there. I got my air mattress pad. Because of the surgeries, I struggled to recover fully, and I had some complications throughout the years after the surgery and ended up with a handful of blockages. One of them that almost put me 6 feet under,
And it was then I realized I wasn't doing what I wanted to in life, and I needed to just stop and live life more and work less. I cashed in my small 401k that I'd been saving when I worked at this high-paying corporate job, and I quit that. I'd always wanted to be a professional snowboarder, so I decided I was going to chase that dream, and was able to conquer that over the next 2 years of living in my truck and traveling to competitions.
All right, dropping in right now, B-Rock. This is Brock Butterfield.
I still had to figure out how to make an income, so I did a little bit of IT consulting on the side while I was traveling around and pushing the snowboarding.
The most rewarding part of snowboarding is probably when I'm out in the woods all by myself. I've got my board strapped on, and I just start making those turns on the mountain and just being out in nature and realizing that I get to do this as a job, as well as the people that I've met everywhere. Like, we're all like-minded people, and we all love the sport so much, and it's cool to see other people that have the same passion, the same drive. And I have so many friends now in so many different parts of the West that I know I could call and crash on their couch at any time. But the most rewarding part of snowboarding has been the people that I've met. During those 2 years that I was becoming a professional snowboarder and traveling around and living out of my truck and learning how to live simple, I was always cramped and crowded in the truck and wanted a better way. Vans would work, but I had to pull a trailer for my snowmobiles, and then the idea for a short school bus popped into my head, and I was like, I could take a short school bus and chop the back and put a snowmobile deck on it and have everything I needed in one place. And that's essentially where the idea came from. So I began researching online like crazy. I'm staying up late every night just scrolling through websites that have buses on auctions, government buses, and the tricky part was I needed four-wheel drive. I knew I was going to need four-wheel drive for the wintertime, especially where we go. You know, driving to Alaska, driving through the Yukon, it's just something you have to have, because there's situations you get in where if you don't have four-wheel drive, you're screwed, and there's nobody out there to help you.
A couple hours here, we're going to jump on a plane, fly to Albany, New York, and we're going to start driving the bus back to Utah. The plan is to take some side roads, avoid the interstates, kind of see the scenic stuff that people used to see back in the day before we had the giant interstates with the conglomerate corporations.
I called the people selling the bus and asked them a bit about it and did some research on the motor and making sure there weren't issues I was going to run into down the road, and it was perfect. It was everything I was looking for.
We're here at Don Brown Bus Sales, which is in New York. You can obviously see they have a lot of buses here.
And I got a cashier's check and took it out with me to New York and handed it over.
So the good thing about buying a bus from these guys at Don Brown Bus Sales is they gave it a once over before we got on the road. I actually found out that the brake lines need to be replaced, so they're doing that, no cost to us. They're actually going to put us in a hotel tonight, buy some meals so that we don't have to worry about that. It cuts back an extra day on travel time, but hey, that's all part of the trip.
And I made that decision and that call right there to purchase the bus.
Catch you soon. Take care. Thanks, guys.
And that's where it all began. Like the whole bus life adventure, living life in the bus lane, started at that moment. And I decided that I was going to buy this bus.
I set sail on the ocean of black. I don't know when I'll be coming back. 400 horses on my chariot, on the back of a beast riding to a sunset, the den of the crazies.
So the trip, mostly is going smooth. We're cruising, we're making good time. Like with all road trips, something always has to go wrong.
Oh, shit.
Driving along, and we come around this corner and we're getting onto another road, and I hear thunk, 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 thunk. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? So pull over, jump out of the bus, and if the bus is still running, I can hear it thunking, so I crawl underneath the bus and start looking at what's going on, and there's like this piece of rubber like flipping around everywhere. So I kill the motor, pop the hood, and start looking at it and realize it's a serpentine belt. And we're kind of like, we seem like we're in the middle of nowhere, like it seems pretty remote. There's nothing but cornfields around us. So here we are going very slow, limping at 1 mile an hour to the next town where there's a dealership. We ended up just limping the bus along like in idle for, it was only a couple miles, but it seriously took us like 45 minutes. Get in the zone, auto zone. I just blew a serpentine belt in that baby, so I'm hoping you have it. So we were able to get a belt, and that was the beauty of buying a school bus. It's basically just a GMC van with a bus chassis on it. And the beauty of that is you can walk into any auto store and they're going to have the parts for you, as opposed to if you bought a big school bus. We get the serpentine belt from AutoZone. We change it out the lot. It's my first time changing a serpentine belt on this vehicle. I've done it on others, so I had an idea. Gave me a little bit of trouble, but I was able to figure it out. One more bolt, we're on the road. I'm tired. We still got a lot of miles to travel for the night to get where we need to be the next day. And then it happens. We're now in Macon, Missouri. We got the belt fixed. We're trying to head west, and there's a severe warning for tornadoes. We're gonna try to go south and see if we can avoid them, but this is something we gotta assess at each town and check the weather and make sure that we're not driving into something that's potentially really dangerous. We were gonna make a bunch of time up by driving straight across, and then all of a sudden we had to detour because of these tornadoes. We drive way south, like it was like a 10-hour detour, but we needed to put some, hours down on the drive. Being on the road, like you're driving for hours, and I don't know, sometimes you get a little crazy and you start having these funny ideas. And I was like, okay, what are some things I've never done in a school bus that would be fun to do, or that I wanted to do as a kid? I've always wanted to pee out the window of a school bus, so we decided, well, I got these big front doors, I'll just pee out the front doors of the bus. The coolest thing that we saw on the drive home was probably the crazy road signs, these metal sculptures and signs that this old retired military dude makes. That's why I love taking the side roads. See a lot of crazy stuff. We wanted to stop at Mesa Verde National Park driving through because there's a lot of cool ancient history there, and you can see how they lived simple. So this is where the aliens used to live back in the day. So as we're walking back to the bus from checking out the park, there's this kid that had this sign that said Utah on it, and it was him and his dog.
Go to Utah?
Yeah. Started talking to him and asking him, like, well, where are you going in Utah? Because that's where we're headed. And he wanted to go to the Cedar Breaks National Park. And we were going through Moab, which has the Arches National Parks.
Okay, yeah, I think I would stop in Moab so I can check out that area.
That's fine.
Seems pretty.
Yeah, you
I've
should.
seen a lot of documentaries and videos about it.
Yeah, you definitely should. So, hey, we're driving through Moab. It's got some parks there too. If you want to check it out, we can give you and your dog a ride, no problem. So he jumped in with us, and we gave Flick and Blackie, his dog, a ride all the way to Moab. And one of the things I noticed about driving around in a bus, like even before it was converted, is you're not in your home, you're not in your apartment where you got AC and TV. Like you're out there, like you're putting yourself out there in a sense in the world, and you come across really cool people all the time because either they see the bus or you're just hiking and you run into like-minded people that are out there doing the same thing, and it creates these just awesome experiences, and you get to hear all these cool stories of other people. So I finally get back to Park City, and that's when the conversion started. That's when like a lot of the work started.
All right, today I've been working on grinding the rust on the bottom on the chassis. Be using this little grinder right here, as well as a flat bar to scrape a lot of it. Super dusty.
With the bus being from New York, like one of the biggest problems we had was rust, and so underneath, I'm just crawling underneath the bus, me and my brother with a grinder, trying to polish off all this rust and repaint it so that it's not rusting anymore.
Oh yeah, safety first. We're also painting the bottom of the bus, the whole chassis, everything underneath that's metal. You can kind of see I've done a lot of painting. Some Rust-Oleum, trying to cover up a lot of the rusty stuff. It's just an oil-based paint that'll help from getting any worse and rusting anymore. It's obviously still gonna have rust sneaking through, but putting a good coat of that on is gonna help. So I'm almost finished with the whole back bottom part, and then I'll start working my way towards the front.
Tearing out the seats, like the bolts were completely rusted to the floor and the frame of the bus, so I had to use a cut-off wheel and cut every bolt out of there, out of the 24 seats in the bus. After I started getting it opened up, I had this empty floor that I could do anything I wanted with, and I had all these sketches and drawings in my notebook of ways I wanted to lay it out. But it wasn't until I got the seats out that I could actually start playing around with and measuring, and I would take masking tape, put it on the floor of the bus, and lay out, okay, this is where I want the bathroom, this is where I want the kitchen. Oh, but that's not gonna work because there's a wheel well right there, so now I have to plan around that and change things up. But it was kind of then when I saw, like, this is gonna be my home, and I want to make sure I design it like exactly how I want it and make it comfortable, because I'm gonna live in this thing full time.
We are gonna take the whole side panel off. You can see kind of behind it here. Just got insulation and these still cross beams that go across the bus. So we're gonna take out a couple of those, as well as all the side panels, which plan is eventually to replace it with wood.
One of the things we had to do was obviously weld a sled deck on the back for the snowmobiles, and my good friend Drew fortunately was good at welding, so he came over and helped kind of lay it out and design it and put it all together. And then my other friend Mario came down. He welds professionally, so he came and helped blaze a bunch of beads on it. And then my dad, he owns his own construction company, so for years growing up with him, I learned how to build cabinets and general contractor work, and we were able to build the whole inside of the bus with a dining room, a bed, the kitchen, and then he helped me paint the bus as well to keep it a little bit cooler, and that's why we went with the white color as opposed to yellow. Through snowboarding, I knew a company called SCS Wraps that's up in Bozeman, Montana, and I'd approached them about wrapping the bus because they already wrap our snowmobiles, and they were totally down to help donate and be a part of it. So they donated their labor and the cost, put the wrap on the bus, and I drove up there and hung out with those guys while they did it.
I'm Brock. Welcome to Bus Life Adventure. Come on in.
So here we have a nice little nook. You can see you've got a back sitting area there. If you want to hang out with the driver as we're going down the road, you simply just do a little swap-a-roo. This guy comes out, slides in here, change the cushions around, and boom, passenger seat, chilling. All right, next one. We got your full bath here. Still got to put the toilet in, which will be a 5-gallon bucket with a lid on it. Shower drain back there. men's urinal, top of the line. Here we have our wood burning stove. Nice and flat, can cook on top, some quesadillas. We got a kitchen area, we'll have a burner here. We got our drawers, bottle opener for one of the drawers. Our fridge will go here, which runs off solar power. Water storage here, additional water and garbage here. We have your coat closet back here, where your solar batteries and electrical run to. Your dining room area. So this pops down into a full bed. And up top, you've got a notch here, notch over there. You'll be able to run cot rods from here to there, there to there, and sleep 2 more people up top. Nice and cozy, 76 square feet. I finally get to a point where the bus is pretty much complete. It's around November, we're good to go. And I reach out to my friends that I was gonna link in with during the winter time, say, hey, you know, I'm getting ready to hit the road, let's link up. And one day I'm driving along and literally hit a speed bump in this whole project. Driving in a neighborhood and I hit the speed bump that wasn't marked with any signs, just came around the corner 25 miles an hour, and boom, like the whole bus, the whole back of the bus goes up, comes back down, and it stays down like in an angled position. And I was like done at that point. I was just like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I was so upset about it. I couldn't turn the camera on, I couldn't record anything. I know I should have, but I was just so upset about the whole thing. I'd spent all this time, all summer working on this, all this hard work that had gone into it, and all of a sudden, like, the project just comes to a halt. I don't even know what to do. We gotta find some solution. So as you can see, the whole sled deck is now leaning that way, and if I don't get it fixed, I don't even know how to fix it at this point, but if we don't get it fixed, there's no way we can hit the road like this. It took me a while to pull my head up and to realize that, you know, I accomplished a lot of other hard things so far with converting the bus that I couldn't let this stop me. Like, I had to keep going. I couldn't let my sponsors and everybody behind the Kickstarter down. So, like, it definitely took some time before I was able to get my head straight and realize, okay, how do I fix this? Like, there's gonna be a way to accomplish this. I can't let it get me down. Can't let this stop me now. I'm already gone this far. Like, I have to figure out how to get this fixed. And so, reached out to friends online on Facebook and posted something and just asking people for help if they knew anybody that had any idea about, you know, engineering and fabrication of metal to help fix this whole situation. Eventually we found somebody that was willing to help and had some great ideas on how to redo it using lighter weight steel, and it took about 2 weeks longer than we planned on, but it finally got done, and we were on the road. I picked up Ryan and we headed out to Colorado to pick up my 2 other friends, Jacob and Brian, who was going to be filming the whole thing, and that was like the beginning and the start of our winter adventure.
A little louder. Okay.
My name's Jacob Carey.
So the first guys that I went to go pick up in Colorado, Jacob Carey, who we call Cub, and Brian Swenson, or we call him Swanks. But we went and picked them up, and that's when we started living in the bus.
Chef Boyargante.
Whoa, those are perfect.
Yeah, thank you. That looks really good.
And it was the first night that we were in Steamboat Springs, which was pretty hilarious. Like, we got to test out sleeping 4 people in there at the same time.
Dude, it's like right there. Really close to my chin. Oh, good thing I'm a stomach sleeper.
We got close quarters right now.
We're doing this for 4 months, and this is night 1.
Need some water, dude.
Part of filming in the wintertime with what we do, like, we're in the backcountry and we're on snowmobiles to get out there. Like, we're pretty far, put a remote. And Brian, our filmer, and Ryan, our photographer, had never owned sleds. They'd always been on sleds with us driving, but they never owned their own. And this year was the first year they owned a sled.
Okay, and then
your secondary clutch. This is your primary clutch. Jaw comes off the motor. This is your secondary clutch.
So Cub and I decided we needed to take them out and kind of teach them for the first little bit to get them comfortable on their sleds in order to make it to some of these really remote places that we're driving to.
Brian was boondocking all day, just full throttle.
It's too damn.
Blew his belt.
Busted my gut.
Sled neck.
It was definitely one of the hardest winters that I've seen as far as snow, lack of snow, or the conditions of snow. Like we would get snow and then it would be either too much on top of a weak layer and we'd have avalanches. Just you didn't dare get on anything steep. So it caused us to travel a lot more than we planned on. Like we went everywhere from Utah to Colorado to Wyoming to Idaho, through Montana at one part, and we loved it because we had an adventure mobile to do it, but it was pretty draining on us because we were just chasing it. We're just trying to find good snow everywhere we go all winter. It was a waiting game. It was trying to be patient. It was trying to be safe at the same time, and it wears on you after a while. But we were able to find stuff that we rode and had a lot of fun. Like for example, in Colorado, like we drove down there for this storm that was supposed to produce up to 7 feet. We get down there and the snow is awesome. The conditions seem like they're great, and then the minute we get out there, it's natural avalanches everywhere. I mean, these things are huge. Like the debris is bigger than the school bus.
We're down there and there's these rednecks on snowmobiles that are jumping off of cornices, and setting off avalanches.
We just had to try to play it safe and stay in zones where we knew wasn't prone to avalanches. We found a really cool hut that we stayed in Silverton, Colorado. It was just out in the woods, in the middle of nowhere. I just came across it. We did some snowboarding during a full moon, and I mean, we had a blast. We just made the best of it that we could, because it was rough. It was wearing on all of us, and it got to the point where we started talking about, well, all right, let's just drive to Alaska. Like, Alaska's got good snow and it's going on pretty good up there right now. Like, let's just do it. Let's just go. Let's drive. So Cub and Brian and a few of the other guys had stuff they had to get ready before we could drive to Alaska. And so I decided to head back to Utah and get ready as well and do a few things on the bus to prepare it. And during this process, through Instagram, we've got a lot of people that would follow us and ask us questions about the bus. And there was this girl in Moab named Heidi that was converting a bus as well. So I thought it would be a great idea to stop and do like a quick little interview for the documentary on like other people that are living in buses.
So this is my short school bus, and I actually decided to go with the short bus because the full-size bus, not only like building a full-size bus, but like driving a full-size bus really kind of intimidated me. I was like, I don't know if I'm like ready to jump that far yet. So I decided to go with the short bus, and it's actually really, really convenient because it's the same size as like a truck, so it can fit in any regular parking spot. Everything fell into place, and I just ended up buying a bus. I don't want to say it was a snap decision, but it kind of was.
Yeah.
But it happened very fast. But I had been looking for maybe a year.
I ended up spending 4 days in Moab just hanging out and learning more about Heidi's bus. I even spent the day and helped her with a few of the things she wanted to do in her bus, and it was cool. It was like rad to see somebody else that was in the middle of the conversion project. So it was really cool, like, you know, seeing people are traveling and being able to see the world and putting money into the gas tank as opposed to into paying a bunch of rent somewhere.
Oil change last night, finished up around midnight. Rolling out of Park City right now. We're gonna go pick up Ben Girardi and get his shit all loaded. And then we're gonna meet up with Austin Gibney, get all his shit loaded on the bus.
Ryan at that time was dealing with a few other things where he couldn't make the trip to Alaska, so Ben decided to come along.
And then we got last minute sip. Drove from Cook City to Driggs, Idaho last night, all night, and he's joining the crew last minute sip. What else do you want me to say?
We started this long road to Alaska, which like one way is close to 2,000 miles.
What's up, dog?
Not too much. Just getting ready to go to Alaska.
Hell yeah. AK bound.
And we drive through Montana, and we stayed a few places along the way, and we get to the border, and I knew the bus was going to be searched. So we just crossed into Canada. We had to stop at the border. We made it. They searched the bus, which we knew they probably would anyway. Didn't find anything, obviously, but...
And then we gave him a tour.
Then we gave him a tour of the bus. We're like, oh, come on in, check it out. And Cub, Brian, Ben, and Colin are still there. Something to do with immigration problems.
Immigration. Called up and asked if I've ever been convicted of anything.
So we're just chilling, making some sandos. Hopefully we'll see those dudes soon.
Said you're lying to me. It says here you've been arrested for DUI, DWAI, possession of marijuana, possession of drug paraphernalia. Why don't you tell me a story?
It was like 2-3 hours before we even saw them. So we tried to kill a bunch of time in the parking lot, riding the Coleman bike around. We made some sandwiches.
Said, yep, I was charged but not convicted of driving under the influence and possession of marijuana. But I was not convicted. I gave a blood test and was clean. He said, you're lying to me. We don't give liars second chances. Why should I let you into Canada? Disappoint your friends. Buy a plane ticket home. Now, what are the chances that you have papers saying that you were not found guilty of these on you? Can you show me those? Can you prove to me that? What are the chances you can call the courthouse 10 to 5 on a Friday? Get them to send you some papers. Prove your innocence. Very slim. So, we don't like you coming into this country. We can't have you coming into this country.
The whole time Brian was telling everybody else that, one of these guys, it's your fault that we're getting held up here at immigration. You guys owe me a cheeseburger when we get out of here. And then it ends up being Brian who is the issue.
How long are you going to be in Canada? 3 days. Well, you got 3 days to come up with those papers that say you're innocent. Or when you're coming back through, I suppose you're driving home from Alaska. Yeah. Well, you don't have those papers, you're not coming in. You're going to disappoint your friends. Buy a plane ticket home. Here's your passports. Get out of here. That's what happened. Made me feel like a criminal when I'm innocent.
Man, it's just like miles and miles of sometimes nothing. Like, especially in the Yukon, you see nothing driving as you're trying to get to Alaska. But there's like hot springs there that we would always stop at. So we made an effort to stop at these hot springs, and it was a good break up from the drive.
Oh yeah, ready for a soak?
But you see cool stuff, like you see wildlife, you see buffalo, caribou, like moose. You see all sorts of cool stuff on the drive. It's a beautiful drive. It just takes a really long time.
Fellow gypsies.
Fellow gypsies.
Who needs a GPS when you got road maps?
"12, 13-hour day of driving. I need a beer." When we finally got to Alaska, or what we thought was part of Alaska, it actually ended up being part of Canada. It was Haines Pass, and it's kind of gray, and up there on the glaciers, if it's a gray day or there's any clouds at all in the sky, like any clouds, you can't go out.
like you can't see anything. The cloud cover is right over the glaciers and you get vertigo. And driving on a snowmobile with 2 people, having vertigo and not knowing where a crevasse, a giant hole in the glacier is extremely dangerous. And so we just have to wait. We definitely had a dry spell of waiting for a blue day for 9 days straight before we were able to ride. And so you're just going crazy. You're trying to pass the time, like chopping wood, cutting trees down, restocking up, playing soccer, riding the Coleman mini bike around camp, building jumps to jump over the road, drinking, a lot of drinking. But eventually you get to the point where you don't even want to drink. Like, you don't want a beer. Like, you're just, all you want is a blue, sunny day to where you can go out and ride.
Stacking blocks and making a nice jump. I was pretty excited to have something to do while we wait around all day doing nothing. So we were gonna catch some air over the road. Built a pretty sweet jump, about 30 minutes away. Everyone gave up. And now it's gonna get ripped down by Chewy. And that is a bummer.
As opposed to like other years I've been to Alaska where I've slept in a tent or slept in my truck. Like before I got the bus, I would sleep in my truck in Alaska. It was so nice having something as big as a bus up there because you start the wood stove, it's all nice and warm inside. It's like, you know, cold and snowing or bad weather outside, but you come in the bus and you have like this small home that you're protected from the weather. And you can play cards. Like, we played a lot of rummy. We would hang out and cook food, and it just was way better than trying to car camp or truck camp or be in a tent. I mean, the bus is small, but can you imagine like spending 9 down days in a tent?
This is pretty much like we're bums, but we're living on a king's bum's salary right here.
Bums wish they could drink the.
Last year we lived like kings at tailgate. And this year we're not quite peasants. We're more like jesters, I think, right, bro?
Totally.
Entertainers.
Totally.
Yeah.
We were all expecting the snow just to be killer and bomber and not have to worry about slough. And that's one thing that I always have to be reminded of every year is slough management, like on the first day, because I always get taken out. And the first hike that we do and the first line that I ride is like one of the gnarliest lines and steepest lines for riding up there in Alaska that I've done, and it sloughs out and totally takes me out. And I am in the white room in this cloud of avalanche slough debris for it felt like ever, and I'm fighting and I'm fighting and I'm staying up and I'm staying up, and I knew I just had to point it and go as fast as I could to get out of the slough. I point it, I break through the cloud, and I'm going so fast that I immediately eat it. Just bam, ragdoll. I lose everything, my goggles, GoPro, like everything's just boom, gone. But that's like the hard lesson that you have to learn or remind yourself every year is like, it's the real deal in Alaska. Like, slough management, avalanches are no joke, and you have to be careful going into it.
That was rowdy. That was freight train slough.
The terrain's just popping off avalanches everywhere, and so again, we have to wait. We just have to be patient. We have to wait even longer. Like another 4 to 5 days go by of waiting for the snow to settle and the avalanches to calm down. And we're finally able to get on some slopes in Haines and ride some good stuff. overall, Haines was good. We did get some good snow and some good riding in while we were there, but it was also time to move on. Like, we needed to get some better snowpack. So we packed up camp and started driving towards Valdez.
What button do I push?
One by your thumb.
So we had a place to park there, and we set up camp and just rode what is essentially some of the best riding in Alaska, like some of the biggest steep lines. We had some really good days where we had blue all day. We were able to get out and film. Alaska's a waiting game. Like, you just have to sit there and be patient. And when it opens up and it's blue and you can finally ride and you're on top of this line, that's when it all comes into play. And that's when you're just like, this is why I'm here. This is why I take all summer and save all my money to just come to Alaska for a month. And then there's also like the Northern Lights showed up multiple times, and you just sit underneath these things and you're like, wow, like this, it's amazing. They're like hissing and popping in weird ways, and the lights just change color from green to purple. It's like one of the coolest things I've seen as far as what nature like produces. Like, the Northern Lights are beautiful.
Oh.
So we went and poked around, and there were just natural wet slide avalanches everywhere. The snow was just going to crap, and if we got on anything, it was going to just slide. So we made the call. We wanted to head back down towards the lower 48 and try to do some surfing outside of Tofino on Vancouver Island. So we started the drive home.
All those floating ice chunks is so sick looking.
This guy's like a teenager.
The one on the left.
Yeah.
With the
Holy
goatee.
cow, there's bears in the trees.
I wouldn't get out there.
Dude, they're in a tree.
And you know how fast they can come down that tree? Real fast.
Oh my.
Yes! So we're out here, middle of the Alcan, trying to get to some hot springs. Got a serpentine belt issue. Bus Life Adventure.
We are taking the other vehicle and backtracking all the way to the what you would call biggest town out here. I'm outside the bus that's running still, and I hear this thunk, 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 which sounded very familiar from when I blew a serpentine belt in summertime. Sure enough, the serpentine belt's starting to go, it's fraying. So if I could tell you 3 things to definitely don't forget on a trip, if you're driving all the way to Alaska especially, is a good spare tire, a backup gas tank that's full, like just a 5-gallon, and then a serpentine belt, an extra serpentine belt. Because out of the 3 times I've driven to Alaska, there's twice I've blown a serpentine belt, so pretty common, can happen. Definitely don't want to be stranded in the middle of nowhere. Once we got to Tofino and we got all set up, we spent a handful of days surfing, which was my first time cold water surfing. I think it was a few of the other guys' first time cold water surfing as well. So you're in these thick wetsuits, you've got gloves on, you've got booties on, you've got a visor, a hood on, and you're just trying not to take waves to the face. And I
suck at surfing, so I struggled.
Surfing's hard, man. Like, I'm watching these guys, so all my friends, Colin and Jacob and Cub and Brian, just out here surfing, shredding, and I get frustrated because I want to be able to shred too. I just came from snowboarding where I want to jump right on a board and just rip. I gotta learn how to paddle out. I gotta learn how to duck dive. I'm just getting beat by waves.
I remember we were in Tofino. It was like the last night we were there. We built a campfire on the beach. We were watching the waves crash and the sun go down, and there's a slight breeze, and I had this overwhelming feeling of accomplishment of everything I'd done, both with like my health issues and then the bus and the project and everything. And in a few days, all the guys were going to be moving out of the bus, and it was just going to be me. And I was sad, but at the same time, I was really excited for what I'd accomplished and where my life was taking me now. After Tofino, I departed ways with the rest of the homies, and all of a sudden I had 76 square feet to myself, which I feel like I have a mansion. It's crazy, like after living in such a small space with 6 other dudes, it's like all of a sudden I've got this gigantic house. It's cool, like I wake up every day and I'm in a new spot, I'm parked in a new place, I have a different view, like my backyard view changes every day. This is like a totally different type of lifestyle, and it's hard for some people to understand and hard for some people to grasp because they're like, oh, I could never do that. But you can. Like, you just have to take a risk, and you have to realize that don't work as much, so you don't need as much, you're not going to buy as much, you're not going to acquire as much. You break it down into the most simple lifestyle that you can, and you can do anything you want. It's funny because this project has also led me to find somebody that's exactly like me, that was also building a bus like me and thinks the same way I do. And it's crazy, like I wasn't looking for anybody. I was pretty much like over girls, and I knew my lifestyle was a lot different, and being on the road all the time and traveling was not for everybody. It's not the American dream. Like, my lifestyle is very different.
Hi. We're getting our tire fixed.
Where did we camp last night?
In the parking lot of the tire place.
Maybe lay your sword down, maybe just for a night. So let's not leave it up to the stars. Let's not leave it.
One of the things that have changed with me from living in a bus for a year, like, I'm a lot calmer. I mean, I used to get stressed out a lot when things would go wrong or something would break, or I approach it so much differently now. I'm like, okay, well, that definitely sucks. I'm bummed that happened, but what am I gonna do to like get past it, fix it, like solve it, whatever. So there's times like when I'm driving on the road and I got the music going, I got the window down, the wind's blowing through my hair, and there's this saying that always pops into my head, and it's like, you're doing exactly what you should be doing right now. And it just makes me smile.